Hi, everyone. Welcome to Talks on Tuesday. I'm Chelsea, and I'm with Barbara and Julie. We also have everyone joining us. Welcome. And our topic today is about listening and listening without judgment. And is it actually possible? Is it something we should strive for? I love your facial expressions, Durin. Um, Gets me enthused. Yes, so judgment and listening and on the hi Cecilia, and also on the topic of listening, um asking myself that honestly, I would probably say we never really get past the judgment of what we're listening to, but well, maybe we do if we evolve farther in our acceptance of what is going on. But I think a lot of what we do in these human form is not letting our judgment show and being a good ear and listening for the person we're present with, but really trying to be at least perceived as impartial and doing that in a loving way. What do you guys have to offer for this wonderful topic?
Okay, give it a whirl. Something that I learned many years ago from the 12-step programs that I used to attend meetings was that you learn how to detach from the behavior of somebody, and that is not the person. So you have actually two different elements here. You have what the person is doing versus who they are. And there's a separation there, and there needs to be an acknowledgement of the person and to not sort of associate their behavior or to comment or to perceive their behavior. I'm trying to sort of sort this out in my mind as I speak, but it allows you to be detached, to observe what they're saying, but to not have an opinion on it. So to receive it in a way, to understand it if you can, but also to not judge that person by their behavior because they are not their behavior. So I think I got it straight now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can relate to that, Renee, and I like that. And I think that's something that I've been learning over the past number of years. And I think being involved with the Reconnective Life community has really helped me with that. But doing reconnective healing and just becoming more aware of my place in the universe, I think, my the fact that here as this physical being, we have opinions about things, but being able to step back and observe what is a big, for me, it's a big help because that detachment, it helps me to have an opinion, but it's the opinion doesn't own me, I can like something or not like it. I can, like maybe want something to eat or not want something to eat, depending on how I feel about the flavor of it. And that's a judgment. But when it starts to own me and I get so caught up in something, and there's so many things in the world today that we can get caught up in, and knowing the difference, knowing how I can just step back and observe and kind of be, it's helpful. So yeah, I like how you mentioned that, Renee, because it is a good way for me to kind of maintain that balance, or sometimes attempt to maintain that balance.
Yeah, listening, being the listener is such an important role.
Yeah.
I was just going to share that for me, sort of like what Renee was saying about the behavior, and then sort of talking about distancing and listening. For me, the word story works when I'm receiving anything, whether it's I'm listening to somebody else, or whether I'm listening to my own body, if I think of that word story, then I realize, oh, well, there's this, I'm listening to a story here. Sometimes it's mine that I'm telling myself, and it has a past, and it thinks it analyzes everything, and it thinks it knows the future, and it thinks it knows the present. And I mean, a great example of that is if you're around people with dementia or Alzheimer's, they will have all kinds of new versions of any kind of story that you want to bring up. And it's just how the human mind works. And instinctually, what I've been doing, just to bring it to, just your everyday person that you would listen to, whether it's a family member or a friend or a politician, you just, for me, the faster I can get to, oh, I'm listening to their story about what's factual for them, what's their story, and what's even true for them. Even though bum, bum, boom, 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 1, 2, 3, I'm not kind of knocking those 3 things out, because that's not the information I'm running on. So listening to me has so much to do with being aware of any story that might be present and expressing in the moment.
Great share, Darren.
Yes. Thank you, Chelsea. It's a great topic, as you can tell from my face at the beginning. I love this.
Get down. Bailey, get down. Good girl. Get down. Good girl.
Anything anybody else would like to share?
I saw Louis Therese waving her hand earlier. Did you have something, Louis Therese? Yes.
Oh,
Okay. I think one of the most important things is to clear your mind when somebody is talking to you, because I have noticed many times that the person can talk, but I'm guilty, but my mind is listening, but also wondering, and have conversation in my own mind about things. And it is actually, I had to take a long time to train myself to listen to the person, what the person is really saying, and what is important for that person, and what is that person's perspective about it, and things like that. So for me, I was very guilty to listen to a person on an artificial way while I was still busy with my own thoughts. I didn't clear my thoughts when a person, and then you miss a lot of wonderful information and emotions also from that person. That's all I would love to say. I had a difficult time to learn to be attentive, and to not only attentive, but to listen to the person and really experience the words of that person that is relaying them to me.
it reminds me of how I often, as a much younger me, would be listening and mostly deciding what I'm going to say next would be forming in my mind. But that is something you kind of let go of.
Mhm.
Yeah. But yeah, go ahead, Julie.
Hi. Yeah, just listening to Louis Therese, what she said, I can relate to so much. And also what you said, Chelsea. When I was younger, I couldn't wait to say what I wanted to say, which pretty much meant I wasn't really listening to the other person. Or making a judgment, and not to say that I don't do, this is something that I'm very aware of and have been working on for quite some time. And I have my friend Nina, who I've mentioned before, who's very ill, and we talk all the time. And I found that, and she will repeat herself and tell me things that she's already told me. And normally I would, say, you already told me that. but I just listen to her and try to hear what she's saying. And this is for me a particular situation. I mean, I have other friends that I talk to and and I listen to, but with her, it's right now. I'm like in this now when I talk to her. Just so she's in hospice now, and her nurse, one of the hospice nurses, and I just found this out last night, but we'll see that it gives her like about 2 weeks. And so, but she talks she talks that we talk about, or she pretty much talks about, and it's how do I decide when I want to insert something? And instead of listening, what do I have something to add that's helpful for her? And but I find that I am doing a lot of listening without judgment. And that's the thing, is trying to listen to someone and be present. And what was it someone just said? I can't remember now. But anyway, that's what I was thinking about listening. Because I do also have a tendency to space out. And so so when I'm talking to somebody, I don't want to do that either. So I have to bring myself back. And yeah, so
Mhm.
mm.
I wonder if spacing out is really not that bad.
Well, but if you're spacing out, you're not really listening, are you?
I know,
You're-
but it gives
yeah.
me another layer to think about, like where are you going? Maybe you're returning to yourself. Kind
Yeah,
of like
that's
falling into the dream world.
Mm.
that's a beautiful comment, Chelsea, because I don't think spacing out is so bad. I think for the other person, they can still feel you're there. And that's still support, that's still listening, that's still you're there, you're still present.
You're
Yeah, I don't
present,
think
but is it still listening though? I don't.
I said maybe maybe we could define listening on a spectrum.
Okay.
Maybe sometimes you're really listening and sometimes you're just spaced out. But then there's all
Well,
this in between.
Mhm.
I don't see why it can't just be listening can't be some sort of a spectrum.
Well,
Doesn't have
if you're spacing out, then maybe you have less judgment or no judgment.
you're more neutral. I think a neutral thing is absolutely beneficial, even if it means you're spacing out. You might be just maybe you're becoming neutral and spaced out because you're about to receive something really cool that might be fun to
Maybe,
share.
maybe.
Yeah,
Could
very
mean
interesting thing to explore.
that would be meaning quite frequently I should be getting some good information.
Julie, you're loading up information that's so good. You got to just space out to get it. Otherwise, it ain't coming in.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to I thank you, Julie, for sharing that about the dimension. And because my mother had Alzheimer's in her last years, but she would always repeat the same stories. And yes, you're there, you've heard the story, and yes, the spacing out happens at the same time you're present. And yes, it's a gift to stay with them while they relive that story again. And and just comments like, wasn't that so much fun? Or didn't we have a great time? Or, oh, I loved it when we did that. Just being present and adding something, because they're living this, for my mom anyway. For my mom, she lived her best life in her last years. She just lived it over and over and over again because that's all she would repeat was her favorite times of life. And it was just beautiful to
Mm.
hear it. And at the same time, we heard it over and over and over, which was lovely for her. And she was at least very happy where she was. And I love Renee's comment also about listening and being able to detach,
Yeah.
because you don't know what they're going through or how it came to be, brought them to where they are. And listening without the judgment is just, it's really a gift. And it's also, you've got to work on it because it's not always natural to do that. And oftentimes, if I'm hearing something that is not pleasing to me or not, something of a topic that's of mine, I just, like you say, you zone out a little bit. At the same time, I take another look at them and I start to look at that person with love. It's like, okay, that's wonderful. Love. I love you, basically is my response, even though it may not be what I wanted to hear, what I would have ever said, but it was just listening with them, being with them, recognizing this is yours and this is what you want to share. So you just stay present with them and let them share.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And on the other side of the coin is the person that you're listening to. Maybe the reason they have such a desire to speak about what they're speaking about is because they recognize it as something that's there inside them, but maybe this is the third or fourth time the story's been told, but maybe it's getting closer to being up and out, like the Michael Singer type books talk about, where the person is on the verge of being able to release the tiny little trauma that keeps the story
Mhm.
from being told.
Yeah. And you can try to understand. You can ask questions like, and how does that make you feel? Why do you think you did that? Or why did you think you responded that way? You can ask, questions that might be revealing for helping you understand why they're sharing this particular thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing I try to do, Cecilia, is ask questions if I'm hearing, and that kind of brings me back to what Louis Therese was saying, as far as having to really just let go of other thoughts and be so present when they're there, and kind of try to reflect back, ask questions about, what does that mean to them? How does that make them feel, or why, you know? And it helps me. It can help them, but it certainly helps me get a different perspective on things.
Go
Um,
ahead, Julie.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I think in regards to what I just talked about, with my friend, that it's true when I do say something that I want it to be helpful, or I think also uh, I get a good response. Like, she knows that I'm listening, even though it's maybe been a while since I've said anything, but then, I'll share something with her, or I'll ask her a question like, Cecilia, like you said, how does that make you feel? Or, because the conversation we're having is mostly about dying. And so it's the first time I've had this experience, being able to share in total transparency and honesty, because she's very honest about how she feels and what she's going through and everything. And so, yeah, it's my first time having to go through that. And so I stay quiet a lot, you know. Anyway, I just wanted to add that.
I will share just because you mentioned that, it's just, what do you think is next? What do you think happens after this? Because, those are wonderful questions because, like I said, well, my brother passed a while ago, but I've always had incredible knowings of what's next and stuff. And he would just say, I'm just not ready. It was like going, oh, you have no idea the joy and the beauty that's showing up soon. And it was interesting because when he did pass and he came to my niece, his daughter, who was taking it very hard, um, she said that he showed up and he was, she sat on his lap and they were talking and she said, Dad, what's it like? And he goes, it's wonderful. And it was so reassuring and so beautiful that that she had to be okay with it. She had to understand and become softer with it. It was just lovely.
Nice. With Nina, she's okay about the other side and that her fear that keeps coming up is that how she's gonna die. Is she gonna be she wants to be calm and like she said, I take a shower, warm shower, I get in bed, I'm all cozy, I warm and I go to sleep. But she's afraid that she's going to have some kind of upset or something. It's going to make for a difficult transitioning. And so, yeah, that's she's got brain cancer. And well, it's now in her brain. It didn't start out that way. But anyway, so that's what we've been talking about. And now that this woman told her, I mean, obviously she doesn't know, this woman doesn't know, but in her experience, she says, I would think, you're going slowly and that's good because when you go slowly, then you need a lot of times you just go in your sleep. Yeah. And that's what she needs to hear. So, yeah.
I guess I was just going to add, and I'll try to make this light because maybe it's not, because it's a little bit of a tough love kind of a thing, twist on this or component to this, which is not engaging in a story and disengaging in the story that you're hearing, and how that is actually being kind. I think I'm going to leave it at that and not do a lot of detail because it could go on and on, but just something to contemplate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead, Anka.
Um, I ask something about Julie's story. Why you don't try to uplift her her thoughts and just by telling her story like in 101 nights. You understand what I say?
The Arabian Nights, 101 Stories, or
What about Arabia?
Yes.
Well, as far as what you said about uplifting her, we laugh a lot.
Yes,
She's
but not to laugh because I think laughing is something that gives her panic, stress, or agitation.
No, laughter is beautiful.
no,
Laughter
no,
is gorgeous.
I don't agree with that.
Stories, chilly stories.
laughter is
Anyway,
actually very
Happy
healing.
stories.
Yeah.
I don't
Anyway,
know
I
to
don't
say.
want to. I don't want to get into. It's not about her story and that. I just for background, but I appreciate what you're saying, Anka. But we have there's a lot of love between us and good memories that we talk about, and laugh. And so, and I agree with you. It's good to be uplifting. Yeah.
Agree. Thank you, Anka.
Thank you.
Yeah. And uh, the need to uplift might be your need in a way, but that's okay because it's a two-way street between the two people talking. But
It's a good point, Chelsea.
sometimes I think there's value in just being an ear for what maybe doesn't really sound 100% pleasant.
Mhm.
But in the end, we are love and peace. And I think it finds its way into whatever is perfect, the situation we're in, But this has been a good conversation. I just glanced at the clock. Gosh, it's been a quick conversation, but I value each and every one of you for being here with us today, and see you next week. Are you good, Anka? I see you typing in the chat. Do you want to say one last thing?
Yes, I want to say more hope and peace to all of you.
Oh,
Yes,
beautiful. Thank
beautiful.
Thanks, Anka. You too.
That's a beautiful closing message. Thank you.
you.
Love you all.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
Right. Thank you.